Hello, my name is Alexander Ferrer, and this will be my final presentation for our Social Work 225 class. So let's begin. The first question basically talks about my self-care knowledge and the practices that I had done before I took this course. What did I know? What was my attitude, and what were your practices? So coming into this class, I didn't really know much about mental self-care awareness and the whole emotional side of it. I was more focused on the physical aspect. So in order for myself to basically take care of my mental and physical well-being, when I first came to Siena College, we'll basically focus on my time here at Siena. The best way for me to do that when I arrived at Siena was, or what I thought was, to get involved on Siena's campus. So, when I was a freshman, when I first came to college, it was tough. I didn't really have many friends. Nobody really comes to college with many friends within the first month. And so it was very hard for me to get or have that strong, structured social life that was outside of the classroom. So I already did the, occasional gym once in a while in order to get out of the room. Of course, we go to those saga runs. But it was tough because that first month, when you first get into Siena College, it's slow. No clubs have started. You're basically in a new place with new people. It was, definitely a big change for me in high school. And then after volleyball had started, that is when I started to, really remember why I chose to come to Siena College. And that reason was because the community jives so well with each other. And so club volleyball was that first step that I needed in order to take, that initial action to basically take care of myself, as well as to build relationships among the Siena College's community, and really start to help my self-care routine, or start my self-care routine. So the final question for this section that I'm going to be answering is, what was the most influential, in my opinion, among the readings that we had to do for this class? And I'm going to give credit to Kristen Neff with the TED Talk that she had to do with compassion. And basically within this TED Talk, if you don't really remember it, she basically talked about how we see ourselves, for example, in the mirror, that we are our biggest critics. And she also talked about, different ways of dealing with difficult situations with other people. And she basically talks about, for example, when a child brings back a failing math grade to their father at the dinner table after they come home from school. And there are a couple different ways that the father could respond to this failing math grade. There is the, usual, like, oh, you are awful person and you should have been studying for this, days ago. And then there's the compassionate approach where, the father kind of puts himself in the shoes of the child, and is basically telling him, like, oh, wow, that's a pretty tough grade. How about maybe next time we work together on your math homework to hopefully get that grade up. And so basically it's this TED Talk talks a lot about, the way we treat other people should be the way, or the way that you want others to treat you should be the way that you should treat other people. And so that's something that I will definitely take away from this class. Okay, so this next question talks about basically from the readings that we were required to read, in addition to those that were on our own in order to complete our social work final paper. The question asks, what stood out, what was influential, what influences your future professional practice, include your resources. So I'm going to do this a little bit out of order. The first question I'm going to address is, what influences your future professional practice? So the study that I'm going to be talking about is the Matthew Gratwich, To Be or Not to Be Stressed. I'm pretty sure this is the one that I had to read on my own. And basically the main takeaway from this reading was that organizations are now going to be responsible for not only ensuring that our employees are being treated well, but also to make sure that it's the manager's job to make sure that the employees are not being overworked or overstressed. So this is something that I'm going to be taking with me when I graduate. So I'm going to be putting a little bit more of a responsibility on my mental health and well-being on my employer instead of just taking that all on myself. The thing that stood out to me the most was our reading with Arlene Grice Owens, which is the book that was assigned to us that hopefully everyone was reading. And she wrote a chapter entitled Diet, What Are You Feeding Yourself? The Body, the Mind, and the Spirit. And basically within this chapter, she talks about her own experiences and what she's learned from those experiences. And one of the main quotes that I hopefully can read this off to you was that my physical and emotional well-being is directly related to what I am feeding myself. I believe that with all things in life, moderation and balance are key. So this kind of stood out to me the most because when you think about it, a lot of people do things to excess. They either love to play a sport to excess, they love to have their coffee every day. And so basically what Owens is talking about is to take life, in moderation. She doesn't want you to do too many things or the same thing at once or all the time. And so what stood out to me the most is that, if I find myself doing the same thing over and over and over again, I'm probably going to try to figure out a way to basically stray away from that one activity or that one habit that I have and maybe do something a little bit differently. So the final question of this section was what I found the most influential. So this one, I'm going to have to give credit to Kristen Neff in her TED Talk about how her discussion was based around compassion. And not only for the compassion that we give to other people, but also the compassion that we give to ourselves. She basically believes that I believe this too, that we are, our own worst critics. We see the flaws in ourselves more than we do in the flaws in other people. And so, something that I'm going to be taking away from this class in this TED Talk is that, if I find flaws in myself that I think, that are hindering my either mental, social, emotional, or physical well-being, I'm going to try to, do my best to maybe ignore that individual flaw that I only see myself, and just kind of focus on doing my best every day. Okay, so the next question talks about the journey through the course. How have you grown in the dimensions spiritually, mentally, emotionally, socially, and physically? So I have to be honest, I had to look all these up. And these are the results. So spiritually, for those of you who need help just as much as I did, basically talks about the wellness guiding our belief system, our principles, our values, and willingness to seek in meaning or purpose in human life. Personally, I think I grew a little bit spiritually, knowing that everyone has a meaning or a place on Earth. I don't think any life was put here by accident, and I think that everyone has a purpose. And so even though I don't think that it helped my religious beliefs, I do think it did help me a little bit understand that everyone's here for a reason. Mentally, I don't think this class has helped me mentally, but I do know that other classes that I'm taking at Siena College are benefiting my mental wellness. For example, in my popular press class for my economics degree, we basically, what we do is we read a book a week, and the book doesn't have to directly pertain to economics per se. Like, for example, this week we're reading Sex at Dawn, and um, if you ever read it, it's really not very economically sound, but it does provide us the opportunity to discuss the book, in a very casual setting, and talk about our beliefs, and how we feel about the book, and do we have any disagreements? And they're all very intellectual conversations. So although I don't get that mental stimulant from this class, there are other classes at Siena College that I would say relate a benefit to my mental well-being. Emotionally, which is the ability to feel and express human emotions such as happiness, sadness, and anger, I do think that I have gained a little bit of the ability to express my emotions a little bit better. I think it is a little bit sexist, but guys generally do have difficulty expressing their emotions with other people, especially with other guys, because men stuff. And so I have grown in that aspect. I did find myself, if I was upset with anything that was happening in my dorm, or with my housemates, I was able to speak up, and basically tell them that I wasn't happy with a certain situation. So I would say that I did grow in that aspect. Socially, I did find that the whole discussion board did give me a chance to talk to people that I knew were on Siena's campus, but I didn't have that, that common interest with this student. And then since, taking this course, I, sometimes see them around, like, oh, I liked what you said on the discussion board last week. So I would say, yeah, this class did help me socially. And physically, I was sick for about 2.5 to 3 weeks during this course. And so one of the self-care activities actually got me to purchase a humidifier, which you can't see, but it's right there. Ignore that. And that did help me with, my sickness. Once I got the humidifier, within 2 to 3 days, I was cured. So this class did help me with, my sickness in that aspect. So yeah, this did help. Okay, so this next question is the peer interaction one, where it asks us what things you have read from peers, their posts, and or feedback on your posts that have influenced your thoughts about self-care and the stress-related risk of the workplace. So the things that I learned from you guys is that self-care can basically come from anyone or anything that you do or enjoy in life. For example, I remember one of you were, and I hope you're watching this, one of you decided to have an activity that week that was you invited some of your teammates over in order to, review some film and, have a team bonding experience. And I thought that was a really, interesting and unique self-care activity, because I would never have thought of that. That to me sometimes sounds like work. Because I do remember when I was on some teams in high school where we had to watch some films. It was structured in the way that the coaches would bring us in, and we would be, no talking. You watch the film, he pauses it, and yada yada yada. But for you to do this on your own, in your own time, in your own house, with your own rules, with your own friends, I think that was a great self-care activity. That's something that I will definitely, maybe not use the same video aspect because I won't be on a sports team, but that same general aspect I'll definitely use later on in life. Maybe even in the workforce as well, because I will hopefully be going into a sales or a market research position when I graduate here. So a team building exercise like that might be a good thing, or a good route for me to take when I graduate from Siena. Oh, and the feedback on my post definitely reassured me that, my self-care activities as well as some of yours, that I took part in, definitely have some benefits one way or another, whether it's, spiritually, emotionally, physically, or mentally, basically anything that we do that we love, or, are passionate about can be, converted into, a self-care activity one way or another. So the final question talks about the commitment to yourself. How do you plan to continue to practice self-care in order to avoid or minimize effects of workplace stress, burnout, compassion fatigue, and or vicarious trauma in your professional work? So I believe that I am a very physical person. I love to do things that require a lot of physical activity. And it was a little bit hard for me once, for those of you who don't know, I had to have back surgery before I came to Siena. And I was very involved in my high school with sports, so I played a lot of soccer, I played a lot of golf. And when I came to Siena, I had to do or find different ways for me to become, active that didn't require a lot of stress on my back. And so, right away I found out that I loved to play volleyball. And then after that, I found out that squash was a pretty fun sport. But then once I rolled my ankle, I quit that because I didn't want to hurt myself for a sport that no one really knows, what it is. And so, how do I plan to continue this practice is to always find a new sport or activity that I can do that's outside of the workplace that, helps me with my mental and physical, emotional well-being. Actually, you can see my set of skis right here. I picked up skiing in January. So this is something that I've seen people do, and I thought that it would be a pretty fun activity myself to pursue, and this is something that I could definitely do in the winter, because I do and I play a lot of sports that require there to be grass and no snow. So so for me to pick up skiing was definitely another self-care activity that I didn't even realize that I did on my own, but it ended up turning out to be pretty well. And you gain so many friends from these activities that require others to be around you, and you're not alone when you're skiing. So that's a commitment to myself that I will always do, is always find something that I could do physically. And if anything comes in my way that I can't do that one activity anymore, like I had to quit soccer in high school, I'll hopefully find another way or another activity. Okay, and finally, we have to present our self-care plan to one another. So I wrote mine down. Loud car. For my physical care, excuse me. I've decided to do 30 minutes of physical activity a day, push-ups before I shower, which I already do. Don't eat junk food before bed, which I already have done that, so I'm a little bit lacking. Play a sport with friends at least twice a month. And the accountability measures for myself to do these things is I have a Fitbit on me, so it does track how many minutes of physical activity a day I do. I could take daily photos of myself to make sure that I keep on track with my physical health. Trust in myself that I I will not eat junk food before bed, and basically stay in contact with my friends in order for us to play sports at least twice a month. Can you still see that? I hope so. For my psychological care, I've decided I'm actually taking another class that has to do with stress-free computing, and in that class we do a lot of meditation and yoga. So I actually got these ideas from that. So I will, meditate and take yoga classes from my mom, because she's actually a licensed yoga teacher. So go mom. And in order for me to make sure that I do these things, I will, set a calendar, reminders, and my mom is she makes sure I do. She basically makes sure I do everything. And so for my social care, I have decided to FaceTime at least one family member or friend every day, and go out with friends to night events every week, hopefully. In order for me to maintain these things, my accountability measures will be my family and my friends, and then to when I set out these weekly night out events, to put them in my calendar. And then for my professional or academic care, I said read a book a month. Currently, I am reading a book a week, so hopefully, I will be able to maintain maybe a book a month. A book a week is pretty intense, even with the full workload. So hopefully, this book a month will give me a better chance to actually read the book instead of skimming it. So, but don't tell Dr. Trees I said that. My second one is have lunch with coworkers every day. Actually, one of the books that I read was never eat lunch alone or something like that. And it basically talks about the importance of what that 30-minute lunch or what that hour lunch does for a person's mental well-being as well as their professional academic care and well-being, because so many ideas are brought to the table when you're just having casual conversations. So that's something that I think that I will hopefully do in the future. Speak with my supervisor continuously. That's a no-brainer. I think since I'm going in the business world, that whole continuous connection with the supervisor will hopefully bring you up in the ladder of success within the company. And then just to keep in touch with my college professors. A lot of my professors have been great mentors for me at Siena College. So I think maintaining that good connection will hopefully benefit me in the future. And my accountability measures for these, I really hope that you guys can see this, is that I will maintain a calendar for that book a month. Maybe go to book club. I don't know. Maybe that might not be my cup of tea, but I will maybe try it out one day. Accountability from coworkers in order to keep up with that. Have lunch with coworkers every day. My supervisor will hopefully keep me on track, and maintain my school email, password and things like that. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed my final presentation, and I also hope it was entertaining, because I know watching a lot of these can be a little bit draining. But yeah, thank you very much, and good job, guys. We're done.